This is great.
Hey, you guys, Tricia Turner here. It is time for Rise and Thrive. Y'all, I got to get used to this new time schedule. This podcast has been running for years. Like, this is the 4th year running, and it's always been since day one, Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m.-ish Central Time. But because of this other morning community that I've developed and developing, it's a commitment that I'm doing every morning from 8:30 to 9:30. I can't do it at 9 a.m. and it's live. So it's Mondays now at 12 p.m. Central Time, 12-ish. And so Rise and Thrive is not about like waking up. It's about rising up. It's about rising up. And what is this podcast centered around? It's centered around the 4 most important things in my life, which is faith, family, finances, and fitness. And every week, my goal is to bring you someone who I love, or I'm getting to know, or I've learned something about, and they're going to talk to you about something to do with all of those. Because at the end of the day, rising up, yes, we should all do that, but you're supposed to bring others with you. And that is the focus every week, is to help you learn how to enhance your life, your business, something like that. And I have like the opportunity to have someone amazing on today, because not only does Maribel enhance everyone's life that she knows, her heart is so pure, but it isn't just that. She's laser focused too on taking care of her family, on opportunity, and really changing the real estate industry, which I'm obsessed with. And so today we get to hear from Maribel by herself. Hi, Maribel.
Hello. Thank you so much for the warm introduction.
Heck yeah. Now, for everyone that doesn't know where you are, they're crazy, but let everyone know where you are, what you do for a living, and how long you've been doing that.
So where I am, I'm in Houston, Texas. Is that what you're referring to?
Yep.
Where I'm based out of? Okay. So I'm based out of Houston, Texas. I've been in real estate since 2015. I'm one of the growth partners here at Realty of America in Texas.
Yeah. Now, Maribel, 10 years then in real estate. Check that out. In the last 10 years, you've seen a lot of things change as far as how the industry goes, as far as how brokerages go, agents, the whole nine. And then when you look at like the last 3 years, we've really watched a lot of change, because things, especially in the Houston market, have been volatile. They're slow. They're stopped. They're like, when are the interest rates going to come down? Agents don't know what to do. 40% of real estate agents as of today, July, whatever the date is, 2025, 40% of them in the Houston MLS have not sold a single home. 71% last year did not sell a single home on a nationwide level. Going back 10 years, the failure rate in real estate is at like an all-time high. 91% of them fail in the first 2 years. 10 years, Maribel, how are you doing it? What made you different? And now you're at a decade in real estate.
So I think that I came from a customer service background, and I think that I made that a pillar of my business, and that it wasn't out of the norm for me to really create a client experience that was individual to that client, right? So if I knew that they had a family, I would cater to them in a way that would show them that I cared, not just because they were purchasing a home, but I really truly cared. So I look for opportunity to show that, whether that be in my closing gifts or just following up and attending their kids' birthday parties. I really made it my business client centered, which is not what I can say about a lot of agents. Another pillar that I would say that is at the forefront of my business is just creating relationships. So I made that a priority. So I didn't go chasing the homes and the money. I went looking to solve problems and looking for individuals who were looking to purchase a home, and how I could help them, I guess, overcome those obstacles that they were encountering. And so when I make myself a solution, then I provide a tailored client experience, then honestly, you create marketing like fans,
Yes.
So most of my business, 95% of my business is through referral and sphere of influence. And it's because of those pillars that I just mentioned. So it's what sustained me, I think, throughout these last 3 years. Like you mentioned, it's been extremely volatile.
Yeah. And it's crazy that you just said relationships, building that experience. Just coming back from a conference in Vegas, the number one thing of two of the most impactful speakers was about relationships
Mhm.
and how they've built this business on not what they can do for themselves, but what they can do for others and making it more of an experience for those. So I freaking love that. Okay, 10 years ago, tell us where you started in real estate. What company were you with and in the model?
So I actually came from an oil and gas industry, and I was just looking for change. I I ran a small, but it was a multi-million dollar oil and gas company, and I was just, like I mentioned, I was looking for change, but I wasn't looking for real estate. Real estate found me, which is kind of how it happens sometimes. So I was looking for change. I was in nursing school. I wasn't quite sure that things were going to work out on that front, um, and I decided to put my house on the market. I'll be honest with you, Tricia, it was not a good time in my life. I was going through nursing school, but I was struggling. My family, our finances were tight, and I was just looking to sell my house to to live off of the equity while I was finishing up nursing school. And that's how I met Mark Demas. And so I didn't know very much. My impression of real estate was what I saw on HGTV. But coming from a customer service background and working with Mark, I could recognize that this person, one, cared about the client, and two, just provided world class. He says first class customer service, and it's true. And so when I found myself, not with things not working out in nursing, I thought, well, I think I've got an interest in interior design. Well, that doesn't equate to having an interest in real estate, but what did I know? And so I ended up in real estate, and naturally I gravitated towards the person that I found gave me the kind of client experience that I would want to facilitate for a client. And so I started right out of the gate with Mark Demas, and we were at Professional Group Realty, and he had a small, lean and mean team, and so I joined as a newbie there. Yeah,
Isn't that
I
crazy?
know. Yeah, God works in mysterious ways. I think back to all of the things that had to go wrong that in at that point in my life, I'm thinking, this isn't great. This doesn't feel so good. This is uncomfortable. And not knowing that that small turn in the road would turn into something so much bigger.
Okay, so 10 years ago, starting in that team, you were probably on a traditional model, then I would say, right?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Okay. And then you stayed there for how long?
I was there about 3.5 years. And so during that time, working with Mark, I mean, I got firsthand experience to listen to. My God, the man is, he's just, he's just a problem solver. When I tell people that I work with Mark Demas, I think the thing that I picked up from him instantly was he was an outside the box thinker. The answer wasn't no, it's let's figure it out. And you'd be surprised at having that type of skill set. It makes everything just easier as a real estate agent. When you don't think of something as an objective or an obstacle, you just think, no big deal. Let me go on ahead and pivot and see how I can figure this out. But yeah, firsthand experience working with him as he acquired his first hedge fund, and then seeing him from the ground up establish the systems that would sustain the ability to produce or sell 3,000 homes. I mean, that kind of experience, I tell you, was. I mean, obviously, it's a once in a lifetime type of experience. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so were you part of it when there was 3,200 homes being sold in the year?
No. So at that point, I think I had just left, and I was looking, as a new agent, or I guess newish. I was
Yeah.
in for 3.5 years with him. I was started in the suburbs. So I know firsthand as an agent, when you are somewhere, you're just looking for new experience. It's not necessarily that things don't work out with that broker. You're just looking for more experience or
Yeah.
a different niche, right? And I didn't know what I didn't know, but I went to a different boutique brokerage looking for experience inside the loop. I just wanted to be a well-rounded agent, and so I was there for a few years, And I made a few brokerage changes in between that time. Then I went to not a flat fee, a capping brokerage. Was recruited to go there, and then found myself at EXP. Left there, and I'm telling you, every time that I think that I went to a different brokerage, it's because I was looking for something. I was looking for mentorship. I was looking for guidance, and I think that this is a common theme for a lot of agents.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that you started in the Mark Demas world. And again, like when you say he's a problem solver, he is. And it's like you can throw anything at him.
Yeah.
I think it takes him just like 2 or 3 seconds. And he's
Mhm.
like, okay, how about this? And it's like, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
So you start with someone that's out of the box and a great like role model in a traditional model. Then you
Mhm.
go to another small brokerage traditional model. So you were
Correct.
staying with those traditional models. Then you went to EXP, completely different model. What
Yes.
made you be intrigued by that different model?
Um, to be quite frank, Tricia, I think that I have always been attracted to the community that a brokerage can provide. I'm one of those agents that um, I I think that there's a lot of abundance. So I think that obtaining mentorship and experience is far more valuable. A lot of the brokerages have different models, but I think that if you learn something that could be pivotal to your business, it can take your income from already being high through the roof. So I've always chased knowledge and experience more than I have, again, the dollar sign, right? Because
Yeah.
it's helped me this far. And I think that that's where I think agents err sometimes, in that they're looking at the bottom line, and that's great. You can do that, absolutely. But I think that you miss the opportunity to learn from other agents that are more experienced than you are, and that, or just have a different skill set altogether. Um, so when I thought about the model, I think that there was a lot of things that I liked about it, but it was really surrounded around the community that was created for me.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell you that what I didn't like was that I didn't feel like I had a broker that was, I didn't like the cloud-based brokerage. I didn't. I know that I lost opportunities because I had clients that were like, well, where's your office? And we're like, well, we're in the cloud. And so not everyone takes that super well. But I can tell you that I think having access to someone to solve my problems or go to a broker to ask questions, that whole experience to me was one that I think could be improved upon. So
Yeah. So I think listening to you and then like thinking about my own experiences, when EXP came around, that was the pioneer. They were the ones that introduced the cloud-based brokerage. It was a rev share model, something completely different to the real estate world. But again, like you just said, their main like thing that they were standing on was like, it's our cloud-based brokerage. There aren't offices. There's no need to have an office. And along with you and so many others found that, but I like having an office. I need to be able to go somewhere. Then freaking COVID hits too, and then everything is shut down.
yeah,
Now here we are in 2025, and when you look at the economists and you look at people that are like projecting the future and what's to come, and then artificial intelligence is coming along so fast and rapidly changing things. Like we're supposed to have flying taxis in the next 2 to 5 years. It's like, what the hell? What world do we live in now? When you look at that, the cloud-based brokerage model now is the way of the future. Would you agree?
I would agree. So when I tell agents, I'm like, listen, because I think that some agents are still a little bit timid to the idea. I tell them, listen, I think KW was like the grandfather of this, right? They created profit share.
Yeah.
And imagine that KW had a few different children, and that's the rev share model. That's your, EXP, that's your Real, and now obviously Realty of America.
Yeah.
And so the thought and the structure similarly was already there. And so for me, the pivot isn't so significant that it's new. What's new is it being cloud based. Obviously, it being profit sharing. I mean, rev share versus profit sharing. But I think that for most agents, they can't overcome the fact that there is no office. And even though may not need an office, they like. I think that they like the security of being able to have an office.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we have an office, and we're like, You're all welcome. No one shows up.
No one does.
They book the conference room, but no one shows up. And I'm telling you, it's a security blanket. And
It is.
I think what you've done, and I think what a few other teams have done, I think that in having offices, it makes us. I think it makes it an even level playing field for us whenever we're talking to agents. I mean, we know that there's not much of a difference, but if it makes people feel better for them to have that security blanket, then we have it already. So.
What's crazy and I think super cool is, like, for me, we were at EXP2. That was like the first experience for me in that cloud-based world, and took a little bit to understand it. Like, how does this even work? And and I'm a broker, so I had to move my own brokerage, shut my own brokerage down. And it was like, well, how do I make money now? I got to figure this whole thing out because this is all new. And then it was the cloud world, but I had an office, so I wasn't really affected by that because I've always had an office. We were there for 5.5 years, and then we went to Real, and we were at Real for a year. And honestly, it's the cloud-based model and the rev share model, all very similar. There's only a few different tweaks that people do differently because the model works clearly. EXP's been around now for 15 years, and they have 92,000 agents or something like that. Very successful model. Real, when we went there, similar concept, except for less agents. Of course, I think they're at like 25,000 or something like that now, 10 years in the business. Now, for me, looking at both of those models, it's like, okay, Tamir is the founder of Real. Tamir lives half of his time in Israel, and then Sharon was the president of Real. Well, now Sharon, of course, has stepped down, and actually there's rumors that he's not even with Real at all anymore, which probably is true. And then when you look at the financial situation of EXP and Real, well, EXP definitely has a shit ton of money, right? So financially sound company. When you look at Real, there are those that say Real is not a financially sound company because of certain investors that maybe have a big hand on the decisions of the company and the shares of the company. And so when you look at sustainability, one is probably more sustainable than the other. When we were at Real, didn't really have plans to leave. We were a little bit hesitant about some of the things that were going on, but there really wasn't another player because when you look at the rev share world, the only ones making names were making names are Epic. Well, Epic, in my opinion, is not run by two people that have built successful real estate companies. Neither of them have. They're hair salon owners, if I understand that correctly. So
I think it's
running
nail.
a hair salon,
Nail. Yeah.
or
Okay.
nail, either or, is big difference than running a global real estate brokerage. Big difference. So I would never become involved with that. And then you have the LPT model that everyone was like talking about over and over and over. And again, from different people that have been at LPT. Basically, there's two models at LPT. There is a rev share cloud-based model, right? Where everyone can get rev share, but the hidden little stuff there is like you only get rev share if you actually cap, which most people do not. And while you're building and selling homes, trying to cap, your rev share that you should be earning goes to the company. So it's like, that's silly. The other
catch-22.
Yes. And then the other LPT model is the discount broker model. It's a flat fee. They pay $500 or whatever the hell it is. They don't get rev share. And when you look at agent count, that's the only side that's growing is a discount model. That doesn't work either. We've seen those come. They'll never sustain the market where we're headed and the industry where we're headed. So I was telling somebody this just Saturday while we were in Vegas, a friend of mine. I said, in my opinion, the rev share model, cloud-based brokerage, is the way of the future. Now being at, having been at EXP, having been at Real, and now with Realty of America, where we've been for the last 7 months, the difference is EXP here, going to last forever. Real, maybe not. I don't know. There's questions there. Realty of America is built by Eddie Garcia, who is the founder and freaking basically owned Chicago. He's Realty of Chicago. He's built a $1 billion business. He believes it all in hard work. He's still in the trenches running with his agents every day. And Mark Demas, the president, who's built $1 billion real estate company here in Houston for 20 years. still in the trenches, still very much involved in real estate. And then they went out, if I'm understanding it correctly, to their friends in California, Illinois, and Texas, and got them as anchor partners and was like, here's what we're going to do. And we want to build the greatest company in America. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Difference. One of the differences, and then I'm going to get some clarity out of you. One of the differences in all of it is EXP being on the forefront of the model. They were loud and proud about it's a cloud-based world. There are no offices. So that was a turnoff for many people. Real, very similar model. Real is not as big. And so some of the agents that do have offices aren't as welcoming, in my opinion, to others to come in. It's their office and that's it.
Yeah.
In our world, Realty of America, almost all of us have offices and we want everyone to come. So it's like we don't just have one office here in Houston alone. I think we probably have like 10 right now.
Yeah. Yes. We at least have 10, 100%.
Which is insane.
And I think that's just because we understand that if we all grow together and help facilitate the growth of other agents, that it's better for us as a whole for the company. And I think it just boils down to the culture. You know, when I'm sitting across from an agent and I'm saying, hey, listen, I'm going to help you with all of these things, but I want you to know one thing. I expect for you to do the same, because one day there's going to be a new agent and they're going to have questions. And just like I'm pouring into you, know that that's the kind of culture that we're facilitating. And it's one that we pour into one another, because together stronger, we go further. And so, I definitely think that a community that we have, it's a true collaborative community. So that's the biggest difference. And I feel like that for agents, I think that that's important for attraction. Attraction is super important. But retention, I think, is equally as important. And so if we can create a community and a culture that facilitates that cohesiveness and that support, then naturally we'll retain agents, you know, in addition to all of the amazing resources and trainings that we have as well.
So when you look at it, like I was telling my friend Saturday, I was like, in my opinion, why would you go to Gary Green, Century 21, Caldwell Banker, Keller Williams, any of them? Why would you go there and pay them 80, 20, 70, 30, 60, 40, whatever their split is? You're not a shareholder in the company. You have nothing but your transaction income. That is an old school model that tried and tried again is going to phase out in the next 2 to 5 years. Everyone predicts it.
Yeah.
Funny thing, Maribel, you talked about when you started in real estate 10 years ago now with Mark Demas.
Yeah.
Fast forward, all of a sudden now you hear like Realty of America. Y'all, Maribel was behind the scenes for many months before this company even launched. It launched September 13th of 2024. Right. Yeah. Prior to the launch, Maribel, walk us through how that even all happened and how you and Mark Demas got back reconnected.
Yeah. So, you know, we had kept in touch over the years. Like I mentioned, you know, leaving Mark Demas, like Professional Group Realty, I was just looking to explore and get more experience, but we had always kept in touch. And to be honest, Tricia, I'm going to be 100% honest. Just like a lot of other agents, 2024 was a rough year for me. And I was thinking to myself, like, do I want to do this anymore? I'm serious. Honest to God, you guys are hearing it here. I was like, I'm going to hang my hat. And so Mark, behind the scenes, him and Eddie are working on Realty of America. And he knew that I was at EXP, and he asked me a question because he thought that I was still at EXP. And I was like, oh, hey, you know, answered the question, but I was like, but I'm not with EXP anymore. And I was like, but here's the thing, Tricia, it was heavily on my mind that week that I wanted to like quit. And Mark has always been like, to me, he's like a big brother mentor. Right. And I was like, I just kept feeling like I had this like, calling that I needed to, I just needed to run it by him and just be like, hey, I want to hang my hat. Yeah. And if I had his blessing, I would have just hung it. But I really would have. But and so I was like, look, I've been thinking about you this week. I was like, I really think I'm going to quit real estate. And he calls me up and he's like, what's going on? And I was like, Mark, this is just a tough market. You know, I'm a single parent, Tricia. You know, I have 3 beautiful boys, and it was just, you know, I had hung in there since the market significantly shifted June 2022.
Yep.
and I just was kind of like, I didn't know what to do. And so, and mind you, I'm like a veteran agent, like I'm not new to this, you know? And
Yes.
so I thought, and he reached out and he's like, let's catch up. And sure enough, we met that evening and he's like, tell me what's been going on, you know? And I just told him all about it. And he's like, well, listen, here's what Eddie and I have been working on. And we talked a little bit about the experience that I had picked up, and he's like, well, maybe you can help us on, you know, the training side, the marketing side of things. And I was like, I would love that to be. See, the thing that I did like, I liked EXP, but I knew, or I felt like I missed the boat on that. Right? I was
Yeah.
like, you know, bottom of the totem pole by the time that I joined, and so, but having been there, the thing that it gave me was foresight. I knew what worked. I knew what didn't work for me because obviously I was an agent that left. And so my mantra is always see a need, fill a need. So in being there before that we launched, I already knew what kind of support needed to be provided to the agents as we're having these conversations. Um, and so that's really how it happened. It was just an organic, it was just him reaching out and saying, hey, you know, do you want to join? And it was the easiest yes I've ever said in my life. And that's just because I've known Mark since 2011. I've known because he was my realtor,
Yeah.
but also he was a mentor. And when I first, you know, when I first started 6 months in as a new agent and he picked up his first hedge fund, um, I feel like he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And that's, I think, why it's so important for you to surround yourself with individuals who just see the light in you and the potential in you because they bring you up. And that's what we aim to do for everyone here, right? But I remember getting the first hedge fund and him asking me to be on the acquisitions team and saying, I want you to be in charge of contract negotiations. And I was like, Mark, I am like 6 months in. That's like literally what I'm the worst at, right? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, contract negotiations. That's like me strong arming people. I'm like the worst at this because I'm so nice, right?
Yes, you
I
are.
just didn't know, right? And so he's like, and this is Mark. He's like, well, by the end of this, this is what you'll be best at. And he wasn't lying. And that's an approach that I take now in life. That it's that if there's something that I'm not good at, I'm like, I'm not scared of it anymore. I work on it until like it's one of the things that I'm really great at. And so when I'm telling you that I've seen this man pour into other agents. I've seen this man, like I said, build the systems to support purchasing and selling, you know, those 3,000 homes that he did. I've seen he's one of the hardest working individuals that I've ever met. And I say this about Mark and I say this about Eddie. My point is that I know the integrity and the character of these men. And so I know that what they're capable of building because I see it being built, but I've seen them build it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've known Eddie since 2018. Mark and Eddie collaborated quite often. And so, what most people don't know is that Eddie would come in, he would fly in, and he would coach us. He would sit in on our team meetings, and he would coach us. And one of those times, and I knew that he was an agent that built his business on social media, and as an agent who was looking to have several different sources of of clients, I remember I took notes and I literally just applied everything that he did. And I kid you not, I think like in 1 month of being consistent with it, I was getting like up to 5 leads a week in my inbox, you know, on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's still the platform that brings me the most business. But my point being is I've seen them build successful brokerages. I've seen them be, and they're very agent centered. You know, they build to cater to the agent and support the agent. And so I knew that what they were building was not going to be easily found anywhere else. So, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it was the easiest yes I ever said.
So when Mark talked to you and he's
Yeah.
got this idea they're going to build this cloud-based brokerage, were you, because again, you knew Eddie from
Mhm.
2018, you'd been at EXP, were you at all like feeling negative about like this isn't going to work, I didn't care for this? Was there any of that hesitation?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, if you know Eddie, you know that he has built his business and has built it where he has several vertical businesses.
Yeah.
He owns everything outright. Everything is like his businesses have no debt. And so I knew that structurally, it would be a sound company. And I knew that they both leverage really well. They've both grown teams. And so these guys are like visionaries, and they may put together the structure, but then they're very keen on hiring the right talent to sustain that structure, to build it. And I knew that they would do the same here. So no, there wasn't a negative thought in my mind. I was like, let's go. Let's go. When do we start? Let's
So
go.
you were behind the scenes like before, because I only heard about it from a conversation, and I was like, what? No one even knows about this.
Yeah.
You were behind the scenes in these conversations. Walk us through kind of the concept with the anchor partners, and what was the vision there?
So I wasn't so much in those conversations until we got closer to launch. So the conversations that I was more so a part of were probably closer to like July and August. So I was at Mark Demas Properties holding, that was where we were holding our licenses until Realty of America was going to be launched. So I joined in April. And so I probably didn't start joining the conversations until like July and August. And that's where they were talking to a lot of team leads, community leaders that were well known here in Houston. And of course, across the country. If you follow them on social media, you know that they were just like blitzing throughout the country. They were flying everywhere and meeting everyone. And so I got to hear firsthand what their vision was, how this was built, how the idea came to be, aside from personal conversations with them both. But I don't think that people realize that they're so serious about the culture that there are teams that they didn't accept because they thought that it would be too polarizing, and it would give the impression that we were here just to recruit, and they didn't want for us to have that, I guess that look, right?
Yeah.
The optics of that would not have been good. And so what that shows you is integrity at the highest level. It's easy to say yes and be like, this person's an attractor and we're going to make it's going to be great for the company, but for the company dollar, yes, but for the company culture, not so much. And so to see them make moves like that, that no one really knows about, I think speaks to the integrity of the culture and the community that they're trying to establish or are establishing here at Realty of America.
And when you were involved in the launch, involved in the very beginning, involved in all this strategy, like you got to see people, I don't think realize the amount of hours that they still work. Like they literally were working around the clock to get this going, correct?
Yes. And they were still taking meetings up until, their days, they had really long days. They still do. But I tell you what, if you're sitting across from them, they give you their undivided attention, and they still make time to connect with their agents, to connect with their team leaders. But yes, it was madness. They were working crazy hours, because we had pitch decks, we had marketing things that were going out, platforms that needed to be buttoned up. All in addition to the fact that they're preparing to like hard launch on the stage at NAREP, and have an exhibit, a booth there as well. But I tell you what, or like I've mentioned before, they have a solid team, and they've hired a solid team, and they continue to add on all fronts where there is a need. And so that again speaks to the professionalism and the fact that they've done this before.
Yeah.
Maybe not on a national scale, but what you can do in the small, you can do in the big, right?
And when you look at it, it's like, how could you go wrong when they've both done it individually successfully in their local markets? And now they have all this years of experience and the capital to back it up, and the systems in place and the team in place. And they've come together to join forces. And then the people that they've involved in like building this foundation is just insane, because at the very core of all of it is almost like a servant's heart,
Yes.
People that are giving, people that want to bring everyone along. Eddie says some of the most, like, with him, you can never tell. He's so serious. He's so monotone, right? He's like the card player. You never know what's going on.
100%. He's always got a poker face. Yeah.
But when he does talk to you, like he's said a couple of things to you, almost almost like a fatherly kind of like
Yeah.
chat, even though he's not old enough to be your dad, but like he
I think
just,
we're the same age,
yeah,
actually.
he just takes that like that guidance. Like, this is what you need to do, Maribel.
And they've both been this way the entire time. When I tell you that, I think in the very beginning, because I did know about this and I did have the opportunity to have conversations with individuals prior to this launching. And, Tricia, whenever I was at EXP, I didn't have conversations with agents. I didn't feel super confident about having those conversations. To be quite honest, I didn't even understand the rev share
Yeah.
aspect of it. And I could care less. I was like, I'm just an agent producing. I don't really, and let's be frank, EXP wasn't super easy to attract to, I hate to use this expression, but I didn't want to EXP on anybody,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
so I was super mindful of that because,
It was
I,
frowned upon.
it was, I am a reputable agent and
Yep.
I wanted to keep that. So whenever I first approached a few agents, I didn't quite know how to have the conversation. And so, because I was super excited about it, I was like, I want all my friends to join me. This is going to be amazing. And I got shot down a few times. I'm not going to kid you. Um, I did it, the rejection. It was tough. But I remember Eddie was in town one time and he came to me and he's like, how have you been? How are you doing? And like I told you, and I was like, how's it going? Have you talked to anybody? And I was like, no. I mean, I have, but it hasn't gone well. Well, mind you, he's taking meetings. So he's like, all right, let's pull you to the side. And he's like, what are you doing? And as soon as I told him what I did, he's like, oh no, Maribel, that's why I went so wrong. But he was just kind of like, again, it's just like having a conversation, tell him your why, what you saw. And if you lead with that, you won't go wrong. And so I've led with that. All of the agents that we've attracted have happened organically. They've just happened through conversation, or honestly, we've led with providing a solution and being like, we have this system in place. I was able to attract a really amazing agent. He's a social media influencer. Guy has like 45,000 followers, and I was like, what do you, and again, met him through a friend. And I was like, so how are things going in your business? I didn't hammer him with like, you should join us.
Oh
No.
yeah.
And he was like, I'm struggling here. And I was like, well, I can probably help you with that. And I led with that. And so naturally the conversation was like, again, people want community and they want help and they don't know how to ask. They don't know who to ask.
Yep.
Mentorship is the most difficult thing that you can try to obtain here in real estate, right? Especially mentorship from agents that are top producing because they're busy. And so, naturally he gravitated towards us and joined us. And a lot of our conversations have happened that way. They've been very organic. And so I think it just, again, it just speaks to what what I've had poured into me, and that's confidence. That's
Guidance.
words of affirmation, and when there has been doubt, and this is how Mark and Eddie are with everyone.
Yeah.
I've met people who are like, I just talked to him for a few minutes and he helped me troubleshoot something really quickly in my business. And I just met Eddie and he was very intently listening to what I'm saying. And he's such a nice guy. I'm like, this is what they're like all the time, And
Yeah.
so I'm so happy that so many more people get to see that side of them, because I think that everyone sees who they are and they might make assumptions of who they are, but if you haven't met them in person, haven't gotten to experience how they pour into the agents and the people around them, then you're missing out.
When I look back, for one, in your situation, knowing Mark years ago and now fast forward, like God works in mysterious ways. He's got it all planned out. Like
I am telling you, if you had told me 10 years ago, hey, nursing wasn't going to work out, I thought I was going to do this part-time, Tricia. I thought I was going to do this part-time for the flexible schedule. What a joke.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I know, right? And
Yeah.
it turn into, and I think I made a post about this, uh, to it turn into me, building a team, walking away from building a team. Because I was at EXP when I built a team and realized I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anyone that I could lean on, um, to help me build this, right?
Yeah.
And then also it just wasn't the time in my life. I was going through a lot of personal things, and it just, everything in its season, and that just wasn't the season. And so, to now where I get to talk to agents every single day, and I get to help them with their business, audit and help them, um, streamline their business, and or take a look at their social media and branding strategy, and because that's how I built my business,
Yep.
and consult them on that. And I think, and I love real estate. I love real estate because I think it's such a great vehicle to building wealth. But my God, I enjoy this so much more. And I love my,
Yes.
but I enjoy it because when I get to see an agent take their business and thrive,
Yeah.
and I know that you feel similarly because you've created an amazing platform for agents where you teach them. I remember when you hosted Thrive Week, I had agents who were like, "My God, no one has ever told me this. No one's ever told me to structure my business this way, to structure my day this way." Um, and it seems like, it would be common knowledge, but it's not.
Yes.
And no one's doing this. No one's sharing it willingly and giving you the secret sauce or their playbook, and
No.
you literally give them your playbook. And
One
so I
thousand
know that
percent.
you and I come from very similar, standpoints. We really enjoy this, and pouring into others and building them up.
I think when I have encouraged our agents, like, you guys have got to start thinking differently here, because when you look at the number one, where real estate is going, the industry as a whole, with artificial intelligence, and as fast as things are changing, and the market as volatile as it is, I am so thankful, number one, for even having that opportunity
Mhm.
to hear what in the world Mark and Eddie were doing, and then be like, wait, hold on, what? Let me hear about this. And then not being afraid to get involved in something that was just being created, and is not perfected yet, but it's trusting the vision. And at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I've been in the cloud based world for over 6.5 years. I've been in this rev share model. I can stand on solid ground knowing that this rev share model has
Mhm.
what sustained me in all of these years. Because what people don't talk about is that when you're selling homes, you're also earning stock in the company, and you're earning shares. You're a shareholder. And there was a time when EXP stock had reached almost $100 a share.
I
I
heard.
had amassed almost $1 million in stock. And then there was a stock split, and I lost it all overnight, every bit of it. It
Gosh.
went down to $88,000. And it was like, oh my gosh, that was a life lesson. I was like, I'm never letting that happen again. And I built some of it back up before we went to real. But what I had built back up, I used that as a platform, financial platform, to sustain us in these moves and sustain us in the down market.
Mhm.
And those things will make or break you. And when you're at these Coldwell Bankers and Gary Greens and saying, there isn't that, you don't have that, and you won't have that. And when you look at the future of real estate, the Bible isn't written on scarcity. The Bible tells us to be fruitful, to be prosperous, to multiply, and to live a life of abundance. And that is what this model is. It isn't about being afraid to go
Mhm.
out there and talk to somebody. It's about us coming together as one to build the greatest real estate company, but yes, be financially awarded and rewarded for
Mhm.
our hard work and our commitment to excellence. And what is wrong with that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You asked earlier, like, this is the wave of the future. Why wouldn't anyone join, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I think it's because we're creatures of habit, because we find comfort in what is, familiar to us, and to some people, going to a rev share model is scary. But if you think about it, Trisha, every single day that we are a real estate agent, we are 100% commission, and it is feast or famine. If you don't hunt and you don't kill, you don't eat. So you're already out here taking the biggest risk that you ever could take, truthfully. And I think just make another take another step forward. And what's the worst that can happen? If you don't like it, if you don't love it, if you don't learn something from someone that you are being mentored by, or again, we have amazing training. But if you don't learn something, you can always go back to what's familiar. You can know it's profit. If you're going to profit sharing, or if you're going to a Caldwell banker, they're still going to be there. Like, what's the
For a
risk?
little bit
Very
anyway.
minimal. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? And I think, okay, that's the worst that could happen. And if that hasn't happened, then I'm okay. But I don't think people realize that they're already out here taking risk in being a entrepreneur. Um, but I couldn't answer that the rest of that for you.
But now I want you to think about this. Think about when you first met Mark and
Yeah.
what your life was like and the things that you've went through in these last 10 years into what your life is now, and the capabilities, knowing what you know, seeing what you've seen in the rev share world. Your life is forever changed, Maribel. Forever.
Oh God, you're gonna make me tear up.
Forever. Talk about that, because it's something that you should be proud of. And again, it's God's hand on this and on you.
Um, I think that what Mark started was is that he painted the vision, right, of what life could look like, um, and I think gave me confidence in moments where I was really finding like my grounding. I just, I was going through a divorce. I wasn't in a great marriage. I didn't have the courage to bet on myself, Tricia. I think everyone's been there at one point in their life, whether it be professional or in their personal life. And I think sometimes it just takes someone who sees you how you can't see yourself. I'm so sorry for crying.
No, I love that you are, because this is
um,
real. I love this.
um, and and I think that's what Mark's role was in my life, was to just, I took something that I didn't know anything about. I just sold a house and bought a house with him, but I just knew that I wanted to learn from someone, and I allowed myself to be malleable and just to be a sponge and to soak it all in. I didn't ask why. I just did it. I was just kind of like, I'm just going to, I kid you not, Trisha. And Mark, when I tell you that guy, like, he's relentless, like put your emotion. No, I kid you not. But I love this about him. When we first started, he would like, don't bring any complaints. He'd be like, write it down, put it on a note, like put it on a, like what is it called? The sticky notes. And he's
Yeah.
like, and throw it away. The world doesn't care about your excuses. Like, people don't care about your excuses. Your family doesn't care about your excuses. You get to it. And but when I tell you that has the mindset that I picked up from Mark, and just being around Mark, and just the relentless work ethic that he has, it was like a life changing for me, right? And because now I don't see obstacles. I see opportunity. If we didn't have problems to solve, Trisha, if we didn't embrace these problems, we wouldn't be in business, because we've got a problem to solve every time that we go to a listing appointment and someone's looking to sell a house because
Yeah.
they have to buy a house. And if you just take that kind of mindset where you embrace change instead of being scared of it, or you face it head on, then I promise you, you have so much more control of your life instead of sitting there and waiting for life to happen to you. The greatest thing that could have happened to me was meeting Mark Dumas. And
Yes.
consequently, no, I kid you not. And he'd probably be super awkward about me being like, saying this, but it completely changed the direction of my life. The experience that I learned, the mindset shift, and he continues to do that. And now obviously Eddie as well, he before we met for Realty of America, he had flown in before Realty of America had launched. He'd flown in, and he's like, "What are you doing? Let's go and grab some breakfast." And I'm thinking, like, "Oh my God, he's gonna drop some like crazy knowledge on me about what's going on." Trisha, we were at breakfast for 2 hours. An hour and a half was Eddie just like getting my mind right and seeing where I was. I kid you not. I didn't see that coming at all. And it was just kind of like, prepare yourself. Life's going to look a little different. And I'm clueless. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think the last 30 minutes, he's like, oh, okay, so here's what's going to happen. Here's how you should probably approach this. And that was it. But my point being is that these are the type of leaders and these are the type of individuals that they are. And those who are nearest to them, and obviously the agents that get to be around them. And they're very accessible, by the way.
Yeah.
I think you know that, Tricia.
Yeah.
And you all benefit from it, and you're just going to see how these mind shifts, how drastically they change your world and your business and personal. So yeah, it was like a domino effect, and it's been great. It's been
Do
great.
you ever like want to pinch yourself and say, is this really where my life is headed? Is this what's going on right now?
I definitely have moments where I'm like, I can't believe that this is it. I can't believe that. And to be quite honest, Trisha, I don't know. You tell me if this has happened to you. I just kind of like, the thing is that with what I found is that it like naturally progresses, and you always move the target, right? Like I know you do, because you're a go-getter.
Yeah.
And so by the time you hit something that was a previous goal of yours, you're just kind of like trucking along until you look back, or until someone else is like, oh my God, you did this. And I'm like, oh yeah. But I mean, it was just kind of like, it's just life. It's not until I think friends or family pointed out, or they congratulate me, that I take a step back and I think to myself, I prayed for this. Some of this I didn't know I was praying for.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
some I couldn't have envisioned at all, and some of which I don't quite grasp that is a reality. I walk into our office, and Kim will tell me, she's like, Maribel, sometimes you just walk in here like you work here. You realize this is your office. And I'm like, I do forget that. I do forget that. So yeah, I definitely have pinch me moments. I definitely have moments, Trisha. I mean, you know it. We were just at a conference last week. Some of the
Yeah,
individuals that we've gotten to rub elbows with just because of this opportunity to be with Realty of America and to be a growth leader here in Texas, they're once in a lifetime opportunities.
for sure.
So absolutely.
On that note, one thing that at that conference that we were at, I had a gratitude like moment the next day. We were on a call and we were sharing wins, and I said, I'm actually super grateful for Mark Demas. I said, because he's such a forward thinker, and he's watching like where is real estate going, and what do we need to be doing to make sure that we're never irrelevant, and that we can always take care of our families and build wealth, because this is what we do for our jobs. This is our career. And he's always making sure that we're not left behind. And because he's such a forward thinker in that world, he has solidified, and I think it's God has put these people in his life where he's naturally, they become instant friends, and then they want to help each other and support each other's businesses. And because of those relationships that he's established, Realty of America is forever like not safe, but will thrive in this changing industry as artificial intelligence gets more ingrained in it, and crypto and blockchain and all of those things that people don't understand. We don't have to worry about that, because we're going to be on the forefront of that. And that, my friend, is gratitude, because never do I want to have to be like, well, gosh, what am I going to do for a career now? Mine's irrelevant. And how am I going to take care of my family?
We were, so for the people who don't know, we were at the AI and blockchain, no,
Yeah.
AI
Crypto.
crypto blockchain conference, and to see where the market is going financially, and to see how we can partner up so that way we are ahead of these changes. He's absolutely taking the proactive approach. We're not going to be reactive on that front. And you're absolutely right. Forecasting that, and then aligning himself and bringing in those partnerships, most of which people don't even know, like these things are happening, and we can either get with it or we'll be left behind. But it's amazing to be able to to see what's to come, um, and to see how this is going to benefit the agents, you know?
Yeah. And what's crazy, and I know we'll end here, we're coming up on our hour. I didn't know Eddie Garcia, of course. And so after I had talked to Mark, I said, well, I got to talk to Eddie. I have to understand this vision and make sure this, because I don't want to do change. Like I want to stay with something for the rest of my career and build something amazing. And I got on a call with Eddie and he said, look, like this is a house under construction. Like it isn't perfect yet. Like, but we're looking for people that want to lead and that will be commit to 3 to 5 years of helping us build the greatest real estate company in America. We want people that lead by example though.
Yeah.
And I was like, just listening to that, like humbleness and that just authenticity. I was like, yes, I'm like, so I believe in that.
Yeah.
And I tell our agents all the time, like, real estate, if you look at this as a career for the rest of your life, like where do you want to spend it? Who do you want to spend it with? And is this going to be the best solution for you for the rest of your life to take care of your family in a life of abundance? I believe you only can say yes to all of those things in the cloud-based world and in the rev share model. There is no other way. Period. Yeah. And if you look at the safety net for those, in my opinion, there are only 3 companies that I would even put that trust in. And that's ours, Realty of America, number 1. Yeah. And then EXP and Real maybe. That'd be the last one on that. But having that safety net for myself, that as taking care of so many people in my life gives me extreme comfort.
I would agree with that, Tricia. I after leaving EXP, I wasn't really planning on revisiting RevShare, to be quite frank, just because it didn't work for me previously. I felt like I was on an island, and so I think that's what we aim to cure here, right? Is you and I have had the benefit of having had that experience, and so we're not starting from zero; we're starting from experience, which is a huge, huge difference maker here.
Maribel, you're changing lives every day. Your heart is so pure. Thank you for being so real today and sharing your heart with us all, because that's what this is about, is faith right here, and with faith, when you put your trust in that, your finances are taken care of. Your family is taken care of.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was amazing. It's always a pleasure, Tricia.
Always. You guys, if y'all want to learn more about Realty of America, definitely reach out to us, because again, we're here just to help and serve. Thank you, Maribel.
You're welcome.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.